Good afternoon, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I'm in the condo of a gentleman that follows my work on HurricaneTrack.com, has been for several years, and he's allowed me to stay in his oceanfront condo to get some work done, maybe get a little bit of a nap later, and then be ready to leave, obviously, when the worst is going to hit later on. So let's take a look at what's going on with Matthew right now. Check it out, the eye right there starting to clear out. Unfortunately, that is not a good thing to see it clearing out like that. The northwest side, though, certainly has eroded a little bit. It doesn't look quite as healthy up through here, but that doesn't mean that it is weakening. The eye and the eye wall and that double eye wall, which I'll show you in a moment on radar, are well intact, and this is going to most likely approach the coast of Florida as a very powerful hurricane. It could even intensify some additionally before it reaches. Let's take a look at the latest. The headline, the eye of extremely dangerous Hurricane Matthew about to hit Freeport in the Bahamas. Potentially disastrous impacts for Florida. And here's the stats right here. The movement northwest at 13. Pressure's down to 938 millibars, and the winds are 140 miles per hour. More than likely in this little donut that I'm getting ready to show you in just a moment. Look out here along the southeast coast at all the areas that are under watches and warnings of various kinds, including inland counties. You just need to go to weather.gov. I'm very serious. If you go to weather.gov, put in your zip code, and you can find out what you need to know for your local area. Just a tremendous amount of impact coming from this system, from the Bahamas, now into Florida, into tonight, and then Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina from there. Now, I want to talk about the storm surge impacts from Matthew, because this is where the most loss of life could occur. Anything that you see in these orange areas is inundation if the approach comes at high tide that's 9 feet above ground level. So I'm going to say that again. That's 9 feet above the ground. That means if you're standing on the ground in the red areas, it is possible for the water to rise 9 feet. So if you're 6 feet tall, and who isn't, right? The water will be 3 feet above your head, and that's no laughing matter at all. Look at all of this area along the Space Coast, Daytona Beach, south towards Port Orange, Titusville, the lagoon areas, New Smyrna Beach. Massive storm surge. You haven't seen anything like this, I don't think, in several generations, at best, okay? So if you haven't left, you need to leave or you could die. Now, this may weaken, but it may not. Are you willing to gamble your life on whether or not this will weaken? You say, I'm going to wait until the last possible minute to leave, and you do so, and something happens. A tree blocks your route out. Who knows what it could be, and you're stuck on one of these low-lying roads, especially out here along the barrier islands proper, and you've had it. And it'll be a very violent and gruesome and unpleasant death. It's time to talk fear tactics here to scare your rear end off the beach if you're planning on staying. Not everybody gets killed who stays, and that certainly is good, but the ones who do lose their lives, it's completely preventable. So I hope that you do leave. Now, looking up the coast a ways, this map, by the way, is just a wonderment of technology that it's available. Look at all the areas coming down inland over Florida, I believe. I hope I know my geography. The St. Johns River area and the different lakes in there, there could be surge values as high as 9 feet in those areas. Can you believe that? Pay attention to this area in here, inland. That's where some of the storm surge, there are some oranges in there. And I don't mean the kind that we make orange juice out of, the orange color. I'm not trying to be humorous, by the way. I'm just, sometimes it helps to be just this side of completely doomsday. But this is really, really bad. And we move on up the coast into northern Florida towards Jacksonville. Folks, are you kidding me? Now we're getting into the Jacksonville area. Fortunately, not too bad, but there are some areas in here, just in Jacksonville, where there are some 9-foot possibilities. And then when we are getting up here along the coast of Georgia, it becomes extremely serious once again. Look at all of that. Some of that penetrating over I-95. Interstate 95 being underwater for possibly 90 miles from storm surge. It's a possibility. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but it could happen, especially if this comes in at the time of high tide. Moving on up, the surge spreads like tendrils on a tree, branches eking out towards, is that a word? I guess reaching out, towards Hinesville. That's amazing, and certainly the bad amazing. Believe me, this is as bad as it can get for this area being not used to it. You know, certainly it could be a stronger, larger hurricane. There's always bigger, worse hurricanes that could come. But for this being so long since these areas have had any significant hurricane activity, it's a big problem. Moving up towards Charleston, lesser amounts. We need to look at this more tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have power somewhere where I can show you. The radar, this is what I wanted to look at. Check it out, that little donut right in there, the eye within the eye. You have this concentric eye wall. You have an eye wall here along the outside, and then this other area, a tiny little hurricane within a hurricane almost. I went through something like that during Hurricane Charlie. I lived to tell about it. I was in Port Charlotte with a couple of my colleagues, and I'm telling you what, ever since then I said I'll never sit in a vehicle again. I don't care how much I want the data. And we did get some good wind data, no kidding about it, but that was a frightening event, and I'm completely willing to tell you that. And I'm glad I made it through, believe me, because there is nothing like it when you go through something that's like dealing with a caged, rabid, wild animal, and you have no control over it. That is what's going on with this system right now, and it's getting ready to move over Freeport. Does it make its way up, as it looks now, towards the coast up here and actually make landfall? I can't predict that. We're going to have to just watch the radar. So here's what I want you to do. Follow on Twitter, and I will be posting updates regularly, several times an hour. Either a comment, a screenshot of a radar, or maybe even a short video clip. If you have our app, Hurricane Impact, all of those Twitter feeds go into that as well, as do the videos. And that will be updated constantly as well. So you can follow along in the app. There's also the live feeds that we have in the iOS version and the weather data. I'm trying to get a second station online here in the next couple of hours, a little bit farther to the north. We'll have to wait and see. Time might be running out, but I will keep you updated as long as I can, and eventually I have to get out of here and get somewhere inland myself and be safe as well. All right, that is it from me for now. You guys in Florida, hang in there, and then remember, Georgia and the Carolinas, in lesser form, this is headed your way too. So take it seriously. I am Mark Sudduth in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I'll have much more coverage for you throughout the rest of tonight and into tomorrow as long as the infrastructure allows.